Hello and welcome to Code Rhetoric with Tam Talk. I am your host, Tamara Abraham. I am also the founder of Abraham Medical Coding Coach, where our motto is to coach, motivate, train for success. So in today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about finding your coding rhythm. And I'll say that again, finding your coding rhythm. So what exactly is a coding rhythm? So this is something I actually define. It's not anything, that's out there, like specifically out there for coding. It's not a coding lingo. This is something I define with a coding rhythm. So my definition of a coding rhythm is finding that space in the coding realm where it seems all is falling into place. In other words, consistency. So as far as the coding rhythm is concerned, it can be in different forms. Perhaps your coding rhythm may be in learning a new specialty or taking on a new position in the coding industry. Another may be studying to pursue another coding credential. Maybe you want to evolve into a different area of coding. And then some of you may have been bitten by the 2020 entrepreneurial bug and therefore want to share or take on the world and share your coding gifts with the world. And that's fine. And then for others, just showing up. And I'll repeat, just showing up. So as you can see, that coding rhythm could be different for everybody. But I think for the most part, in 2020, just showing up. If we just show up, we're already winning. And so for me personally, I've oscillated between several different coding rhythms. So as I mentioned, I am the founder of Abraham Medical Coding Coach. Again, where I actually provide an online course prepping students or individuals who are interested in pursuing their coding certification through the AAPC. Also provide coaching as well as tutoring to those who are currently certified and looking to maybe advance in their career as a coder, or perhaps they've taken on a new specialty and they need some tutoring or some coaching in those areas so that they can evolve. And I've also worked, but I am working as a consultant. And so I wear many hats in the entrepreneurial realm. But one that I recently started doing is the coding podcast, Code Rhetoric with Tam Talk. Now, I started this podcast a couple of years ago, but I wasn't consistent with it. And I wasn't wasn't sure, I don't say quite right, sure. Anyway, about my approach, how I wanted to go about with the podcast, what did I want to talk about. And because I already had different things out there where I was providing coding strategies, coding tips. And again, I have my online training. So it's I want to evolve into something else because I already have items out there that provide the training or training and learning. So I came onto the podcast and was like, we're just going to talk about everything that is pertaining to coding. That includes the good, the bad, as well as the ugly. So here we are. So at this present time or this present moment, podcasting is becoming my coding rhythm. I'm able to let my hair down. I'm able to speak freely as well as professionally, because I am a professional coder, about the coding industry. Like I said, we'll talk about the good, the bad, as well as the ugly. Add a little humor to the podcast. Everything doesn't have to be about learning, because we are humans. And there are things in the coding industry, as well as in any industry, that make us give a side eye, shake our head, or, cause us to gasp, I guess you say, to gasp. So that's the type of podcast I want to have with you all as it relates to coding. And again, it is entitled Code Rhetoric. So we'll be just rambling and talking about different things related to the coding industry. So that's my coding rhythm. And with the coding rhythm, you don't have to stay in that rhythm as a coder forever. You can oscillate between rhythms depending on, I say, this season. One season you may be, on your entrepreneurial journey. The next season you may be studying to evolve into the coding industry because you want to sharpen your skills, especially if you're out here, trying to take on this entrepreneurial route. So you want to make sure your skills are sharp. And then another season, you may just want to show up. You know what? I'm showing up. Because let's be honest, 2020 dealt us a whole lot. More so on a personal level, but really for those of us who are actually coding. Because there are a lot of changes that took place throughout 2020 that wasn't supposed to take place until October 1st of 2020, which was the ICD-10 codes. But, we had to learn, the COVID-19 diagnoses, how to code those. What are the guidelines for those? How to interpret those ICD-10 coding guidelines. Then, although those telehealth service codes were in our CPT books, we had to really start implementing them. So we had to learn that as well. Then once we learned it, we had to ensure that the providers, the ones who were providing the health services, understood what was required to provide those services or to report those services. So there were a lot of changes for us in the coding industry. And so if a lot of us are just showing up and that's our coding rhythm, hey, I'm with you. Yes, just showing up. Just showing up. So, last episode, I had coding educator Joanne come on and we talked about sweatshop coding. And we talked about a lot of things as it relates to the coding industry. And as you all may know, that there are going to be some major changes with the evaluation and management services codes starting in January of 2021. So with that, I actually, I attended some webinars, in relations to the new 2021 changes. But I also attended one earlier today, which was pretty interesting. And if you ever have a chance to check out some of these webinars, it was through Becker, but I'll say Becker hosted it, or Becker, let me get this right because I don't want to give credit to the wrong company. I found it through Becker. Okay. So, but it was hosted by, hold on one second. I don't want to tell you wrong. But anyway, so I went to Becker's Hospital Review Healthcare News. So Becker's Healthcare, that is Beckers, hospitalreview.com. So here I find a lot of information as it relates to healthcare. Anything as it relates to, of course, hospital. You have ambulatory surgery centers. You have health IT, dental. You have payer-related information. And here, they also, on their website, they have several webinars and podcasts and conferences and newsletters and things of that nature that is specific to healthcare. And so I went to the webinars, and anyway, so I registered through Becker for a webinar that was specific to 2021 evaluation and management services and changes, it was really good. And so I would advise you to, if you have a chance, to take a look at some of their webinars. And I'm trying to find it. And you also get a CEU. I was also able to obtain one CEU for American Academy of Professional Coders, which is the organization in which I am credentialed through, regarding the webinar. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to locate the information, the name of the group that hosted the webinar earlier today. But Becker is pretty good. Like I said, you can find all sorts of information as it relates to healthcare on there. And the information was pretty interesting. And I would say I learned a lot as it relates to the medical decision-making table. Oh my God, I took some notes. One thing that I saw, or that they discussed, was the changes to the data component or the data table for the medical decision making. And I was like, oh my goodness. And one thing that she talked about, when it comes to like chronic conditions, or when the providers list a chronic condition or a condition as stable, and although like the doctor may have a particular goal for the patient to reach when it comes to that condition, and although the patient may have improved from where they were at the beginning of that treatment or that condition, that patient is still deemed unstable. Let me repeat that. The doctor has a treatment goal for a health condition. The patient had improved had improvement with perhaps their medication or what have you with that particular condition from like the first time the doctor evaluated the patient. Although the status is improving, the patient is still unstable because they had not reached that treatment goal. That's big. Because with the old guidelines, those conditions were considered stable. If they were improving or stable per the medical decision-making table, those were considered stable conditions. Now, those conditions are considered unstable because the patient has not reached the treatment goal. So that was like a biggie for me. Like, okay. So there were some other things that they talked about as it relates to the medical decision-making table. And I took notes, and I don't have my notes in front of me. That's not good. But it's some really helpful information. So I would encourage you, if you haven't received any training or did your research or studied the new guidelines or the new changes as it relates to the evaluation and management services for 2021, I would encourage you to do so. AAPC has some good information. They have some on-demand webinars that you can purchase and download and study, as well as, like I said, the one that I attended today through Becker, but the company is, let's see here, it is through, and I hate that I don't have the specific information pulled up for you. We're going to go in. Let's see. Luckily, I have the information still here. And it is through ABEO. Here we go. ABEO. ABEO. It's the CPT 2021 Office Evaluation and Management Changes. And it was presented by Angela Jordan, which is a senior CDI consultant, and Amy Turner, which is a director of the advisory solutions through Trusted I-10, which is an ABEO technology solution company as it relates to medical billing. So they put on a really good presentation, and review, again, the CPT 2021 Office Evaluation and Management Changes. And they also gave some good tips on how we could educate our providers as it relates to their documentation, so that it would be easier for us as coders as well as the billers when we are, preparing to code as well as review the billing for these particular services. And so, like I said, it is on demand. And so I would encourage you to, again, if you have the opportunity, to go on and take a look at it and listen to it and take notes. And you always want to be prepared when it comes to any code changes. You want to be prepared based on the current information that's out there, and it may or may not be subject to change. And I'm not saying with this particular change, but there are some that may or may be subject to change, and we witnessed that again with the COVID-19 changes. One moment we were doing it one way, then we received new guidance and we had to change the way we were doing it, and so on and so on. So yes, so again, you want to be armed and be prepared for anything that is like specific to coding changes. So that concludes what I have for today as it relates to coding and the coding rhythm. So as far as our Wellness Wednesday tip, my thing is walking. I enjoy a good exercise. I enjoy a good walk. I'm no exercise enthusiast, but I do enjoy a good walk out to get some fresh air. So for those of you who are still working remote, I would encourage you to find that one thing that will allow you to pull away from that desk to get some fresh air, whether it be exercise, whether it be meeting a friend or a relative for a social distance luncheon. One thing that my previous guest shared is the Calm app. That's the CALM app, which is good for meditating. There's various types of meditation or motivational audio out there to kind of give you balance as it relates to, just finding for mental health. Maybe your workspace or your work, your work in coding is very intense, again, with all the changes that are going on. And sometimes we need to pull away from that, and we need to shift our mindset to something more calming, something that to give us that balance mentally. So again, mine is going out walking. I enjoy a good walk. I feel free. I'm able to gain clarity in my thoughts. I'm able to get some fresh air. And if I'm lucky, I may see other people out there walking or jogging. So I'm able to connect with the outside world. So I would encourage you to do so as well. Well, that's all I have for today on Code Rhetoric with Tam Talk. Oh yeah, I did want to mention about our virtual mini coding camps. How could I forget that? So yes, Abraham Medical Coding Coach will be launching our virtual mini coding camps. So what exactly is that? Well, of course I'm going to tell you what that is. So there are different specialties where we will be introducing or providing a basic introduction into that particular specialty, such as, I'm going to say, anesthesia. For those who are interested in pursuing the anesthesia coding route, we will be providing an online self-paced basic introduction into the wonderful world of anesthesia, so that you can learn the lingo, you learn what to look for, you can learn how to code anesthesia services. And so there'll be of other specialties as well. But yeah, so it's a virtual mini coding camp. And they're $20 each. $20 each. So in a short time, depending on your speed, you can learn the basics of a new area of coding, a new specialty for $20. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. So if you decide you want to pursue a role in anesthesia, or I would even say pediatrics, and you go through the virtual mini coding camp, when you go for your job in those particular areas, you're already armed with the information needed so that you can do well in your role. So again, if you want to learn more, well, not even learn more, you're going to purchase one. Why? Because you are looking to evolve. Visit my website at www.abrahammedicalcodingcoachllc.com. Again, that is www.abrahammedicalcodingcoachllc.com. So, ladies and gents, that's all I have for this week. I hope you all have a great week. And until next time, stay blessed.